1944, and I'm referring to Independence Day. And I want to say to everyone, happy Independence Day, Zimbabwe. I know mixed reactions, correct? I understand that. Mixed emotions, so am I. So I would like you guys to share your thoughts today. What do you think about the independence that our parents, our forefathers fought for? And today here we are, still finding ourselves in a new colonization era. That's all I can say. Nothing more to this. Really, a new colonization era. So that's what we're going to be looking at. But bear in mind, the ZANU PF elites, the funders, have kept us at ransom. So I want you to come through and really pour your heart, share your thoughts. It's very, very important today. But before we proceed, if it's your first time to come across this channel, I'm going to ask you to subscribe and make sure that you ring the bell so that every time we are live, you'll be notified immediately. But I also want to send out some love to people like James, Moses, who are here, and say shout out, Ambassador of Peace. These are my regulars who are always in the space. I want to send you some love and say thank you so much for guys for your support. There's actually a thank you button, so make use of it. If you want to be of a blessing, please go ahead and do so. By the way, because we are turning 44 tomorrow, we are all ready. We can't wait to meet in Zimbabwe, aren't we? We are so ready to meet home, everyone, so we can celebrate together. You know, I just wanted you to know that I'm still in love with you. Always, always, you are like my everything. Hi, everybody. To every Zimbabwean, I want to say happy independence to you, y'all. It's going to be a good one. You know, it's going to be a good one. So we're going to have a conversation tonight. Very important conversation. Right. Good to see you, bro, Mike. Everybody, welcome to Ruby Uncensored, and it's actually good evening to you guys and a happy Wednesday to everybody. I hope you guys are doing great, because I am. All right, so yeah, the winds of change in Zimbabwe were at their peak in 1999-2000. First-time voters that period are now 42 years old. Electoral politics has failed in Zimbabwe. It's pointless to go into an election to prove that one is more popular than Emerson without the statecraft to capture power. Emerson never won an internal ZANU-PF election. There's nothing to prove. ZANU-PF has been defeated resoundingly between 2000 and 2008, but still retained power. That's the elephant in the room. If you want to change, grab it now, not to wait for another choreographed fake election. Muchangwa is the speaker of the truth. If you are not happy with our governance, you must do what we did to Ian Smith. Muchangwa was right. The race is attention-seeking nonsense and sideshows. This is Ali Naka. He says it's time for you to take the arms because these people are not going to let go. You know what I mean? That's what he's saying. He said they're not going to let go. So Muchangwa made it clear to you that if you truly want to take over Zimbabwe as a young generation, you're going to have to do what we did to Smith. But here's the thing, guys. We know that people took the arms. Our forefathers, parents died. But at the end of the day, there was a negotiation on the table. So they always want to throw you on the other side of the aisle because they're afraid of the dialogue, because the dialogue is going to expose them. The dialogue, eventually there was a dialogue at the Lancaster House. But no, you won't hear Mchangwa talking about it, right? Because they know that's where they will be caught, around the table. It's quite interesting, isn't it? But anyway, we have here, and again, I want to say my condolences because actually we lost another Army General today. I'm going to read some of the very interesting tweets that people were sending out here. You heard yesterday that some of the Army people were complaining that, their welfare is a problem. You've seen Army also guys who are being caught, in doing armed robbery because, I'm sure, of course, if you're struggling, you're going to find means for survival. Correct. Here we are, we've lost one today. So Ned Masora said, night of long knives. We warned them time again and again. That night of long knives too was coming, but they never listened. They though were bluffing. You see, we have never been in the business of being alarmists. We must happen to be present at all times everywhere in the system. So there were so many tweets that were shared, and people are saying, no, these people have been definitely assassinated. These are simply allegations that people are busy dropping on social media. Is that night of, wow, the night of long knives. Quite interesting allegations right there. Quite interesting allegations. So 4 Army officers had an accident at Munyati, and one of them is the General Veja. He is no more. So may his soul rest in eternal peace. So he went home to be with the Father. So some people are saying, no, his life has been cut. There are people who had intentions to make sure that at least they consolidate power. These are similar allegations. And Jairo said Christopher Hatikure Muchangwa is in hot soup again. The Baba Mouth war veteran known for talking about a liberation struggle which ended 44 years ago was reprimanded by his own comrade, Obed Mupofu, who was the Minister of Mines at the center of gold smuggling. All right, because of the issue of gold smuggling, which I want to deal with, his altercation with Gideon Gono, which led Obed Mupofu rebuking him and say, hold on, and hold on, and hold on. And also, it is not a surprise that those who are pushing for the Mafidi dynasty have prohibited Police Zimbabwe, Zimbabwe Online, Zero Zimbabwe, ZANU-PF Patriots, and other for ED-affiliated ex-handles from posting about the just slain Army General, including Veja. So they said, don't talk about why, because they're protecting the dynasty, because they know that people will know, okay, the Army Generals are dying. They've been dying, a lot of them. They've been going to heaven. And now today we had 4 of them involved in an accident, and 1 of them died instantly, and that was Army General Veza. We'll look into that story a little bit later. But anywho, I want to ask you a question. Do you think elections will be able to free us? The same question we asked last night. We're asking again the same question. Do you think elections will be able to free us from all this quagmire? Or we need to take other route? The dialogue seems to be a problem. There are hurdles in between. Hardliners do not want, and I always say to people, those that know they're incompetent are not willing to allow. They are not willing to allow dialogue because they know that dialogue will lead to some of them losing employment because they don't have qualifications. Number one, number two, they do not have the capacity to serve in those ministries that they are busy just up and down, jumping, taking pictures. Nothing is working. So yeah, they will lose. But again, the words of Ngosana Moyo, Zimbabweans have not suffered enough yet. Citizens are not fighting the system to change it. They are fighting to be included in the system. Are you one of the people who is fighting to be included in the system, or you're fighting to make sure that the system of the elite of holding our people at ransom is gone and gone for good? You need to ask yourself questions. Are you? Or you're one of the people who are also working tirelessly to make sure that at least you keep milking our people to death. It's very sad indeed. All right, so Zika Maibere, when he was having an interview with Trevor Ngube, he spoke about the issue of the elite, that it shocks and flabbergasts Zimbabweans. Why do we keep having elections, considering that those elections are not to bring solution on the table? But he also dropped allegations that because elections, they're literally, pushes a lot of funds into the space. That's one of the reasons why they can never be stopped. Those that are eating with the elites, they will say, no, let's have elections. Even when you can see that, no, we have a lot of, unmet conditions, they'll still push and say, let's have elections. Because they know these elites we are coming in through and be milking our country, they inject money to politicians so that they can push their own personal agenda. It's quite disturbing to hear those allegations. But yeah, quite very disturbing. Because we all have been asking ourselves, why can't we have any solution in the country? Because people are getting richer and richer by day. Take a listen, please.
The Human Rights Manifesto was signed by 5 major political parties here in Zimbabwe, including the current president of Zimbabwe. Because we are making a statement that you, as political leaders, we will not let you run to hell with this country. You've got an obligation. You are the primary duty bearers. So let's have a conversation around the evidence. Hope is not a strategy, right? So if the evidence tells us that we can't do this and achieve what the Constitution is expecting, how do we align politically? So that's the second level of political alignment. The third level then becomes the regional alignment. Because certainly I spoke about a lot of money going into the election. So there are a lot of regional actors. So we've got the SADC that has issued a report. We've got the African Union. We've got the European Union. We've got Commonwealth. We've got all these are the regional actors. But the important thing is that if we reach a position that we are drawing a line in the sand, in civil society, maybe we are closer to the communities. And if we align this position with our political leaders so that nobody says things like this election is not going to be stolen, and we have sold this clearly with our international partners, then we are not going to have international partners who are going just to drive us through a meaningless election. So this is a conversation that covers all these 3 levels.
This issue of elite capture of the civil society organizations, surely the voluntary PVO, public voluntary, that's what it's called, isn't it?
The PVO bill.
PVO bill. It justifies having the pure PVO bill, because if we are going to have donors sitting in Europe, in America, determining the agenda where this elite has been captured to carry out a foreign agenda, and not necessarily an agenda that says the people do not want elections. The people on the grassroots are saying, why are we having elections? But somebody who's got millions, who is sitting in London or New York, is saying, we should have elections. And Trevor, who is head of an NGO, says, we should have elections because we're getting millions. Is that a fair assessment?
Yeah, Trevor, the PVO bill can never be justified. 2 wrongs don't make a right.
Sure.
Like I said, we have an honest introspection about the challenges that we face as civil society. And I believe that there are a lot of organizations, more of them are actually doing very good work and have in place accountability mechanisms. I have been in many shift the power conversations. Just in December, I was in a room with over 700 activists holding the donors to account. So if you're going to speak to some of the donors, even in these countries, that in this country whom we have met with, they know that lot of us are unapologetic about where the power lies, and that we believe it's high time we begin to put those in close proximity to these issues in decision making. So this is an ongoing conversation, but it's not an issue of civil society only, Trevor. This is an African liberation agenda. Even our governments, look at our parliament. They build
Who's funding them?
They build a nice parliament and they recall all the members of parliament. We're speaking about elections, and it is an electoral process that is supposed to give meaning to that parliament. So the issue of elite capture is not restricted to civil society.
True.
It's in every space, including the way that our governments operate. So when we then speak about shifting that power, it means we are having conversation around the power behind development assistance and how can we make it work for the ordinary people.
All right, you've heard. Elite capture, people who are sitting in Europe can determine what should be happening in the country. Their friends and right, their bodies will determine what should be happening in our country. You know, I've told you that almost every meeting that ZANU-PF are holding, I always see Chinese at the front. Today, there's a video that is circulating where we can see President Mnangagwa's son with the Chinese guys, you know, at this mineral place. And even the song behind that video, there's nothing you're going to do to us. And, you know, they're all, the people that were there, most of them, Matumba Mangari, very big stomachs, like things are really working for them, you know, like, yeah. I'm not eater. You understand? That's the nation that we are in today. And I can only really extend some love and light to Chanakira. I remember was asking so innocently to Mr. Mchangwa and say, "My deals are now billionaires. No, I'm not marrying." You remember that? What a statement! What a statement! I'm not surprised that he's just kind of quiet and mind his business. And Trevor too, because that day they knew that no, we are literally going absolutely nowhere with these people. They're not folding, they're not budging. It is really sad that even 44 years in, and we are saying we are celebrating. I don't know if there's any independence. To me, in my opinion, I don't see if there's any independence. You know, we're still finding ourselves in all these challenges that we have today. People are coming in our country, they just take and leave. But all our people are languishing in poverty. And I just want to say to Ruben, wrote an incredible piece, Nihanda Radio, incredible piece, and say how ZANU-PF killed the independence. What an incredible. Let's pursue this, this article. Says it was obvious that this was all part of the independence favor. As Zimbabwe turns 44 years on the 18th of April, which is tomorrow, I knew the song since throughout my early childhood in the 1970s. The spirit of Uhuru was an integral facet of our household. My late father was a fervent proponent and supporter of the independence cause. As such, inculcated in me an extinguishable passion for justice and a loathing for all forms of oppression. I can proudly declare that my father created the man I am today. Therefore, we would sit around the radio in the evening, listen to the Voice of Zimbabwe, broadcast carried via Maputo, radio. The song I bumped into on ZBC was one of those that we used to listen to and sing along on the Voice of Zimbabwe, which sought to educate the masses and mobilize them to back the struggle for liberation. It was called Maruza Imima Pambe Fum. Remember the song? Maruza Imima Pambe Fum. What endeared me to this particular song, memories of which we were evoked last evening, was how it so beautifully chronicled the history of our country from colonization to independence. As I listened to Maruza Imapambe Fumi yesterday, I was gripped by a sense of pride for the independence that we attained in 1980 from decades of colonization. I felt as though it was 1980 all over again. The renewed self-confidence of a people that had perceived themselves second-class citizens in their own country, and the hope of a new Zimbabwe where all of us would benefit equitably in the sharing of the national cake. Honestly, those feelings returned last night. However, this was not so long. Before the song even finished, I was painfully brought back to reality. This was no longer 1980, but it's actually 2024. We have been independent for the past 44 years, yet we are still treated as second-class citizens in our own country. The vast majority of Zimbabweans are still living on the fringes of society where we are not sharing in the national cake. The biggest pieces are still going to a small minority who are in the ruling elite. They are the ones who live in vulgar opulence as they enjoy the flat of the land. Only the tiny fraction of Zimbabweans are the ones who are enjoying the fruit of our independence, while it's half the population wallow below the extreme poverty line. Already based on statistics from UNICEF, an estimated 1.7 million children in Zimbabwe who need urgent humanitarian assistance this year, 2024. Zimbabwean children, 23.5% or over 500,000 are stranded, chronically malnourished, and do not grow and develop to their full potential. Hear that? Last year alone, almost 4.3 children were admitted in hospital for wasting, with the WHO describes as acute malnutrition and a sign that a child is experiencing periods of undernutrition. Furthermore, most families in Zimbabwe have resorted to restricting their meals per day to only one. All this is due to unimaginable poverty and lack of access to sufficient food. Those in power or aligned to them are the ones with access to vast tracts of fertile land, as the majority languish in the same reserves of the Land Apportionment Act in 1930. We will not even talk about our children whose prospects of owning even a square inch of land in Zimbabwe is next to none. Yet there's a small clinch in possession of more than one commercial farm, such as former President Robert Mugabe's daughter, Bona, who reportedly owns 21. I don't know if she's even using them. Who knows how many those in power today own, after generously gifted each other huge farms under the guise of a land reform program. Maybe we'll only be told after they all leave office. Yet the so-called land question was one of the central grievances of the liberation struggle. This remarkable sank my heart. It was clear that Zimbabweans were not yet free. Are we free, y'all? As far as I know, we're not yet free. We're not yet free. If I can be able to run this show in the middle of Harare, Harare without anybody coming knocking my door or threatening me on the street, then I can tell you we are free. And that day is coming. It is coming. The freedom is around the corner. And we will nail every person. You can't hide. The time is coming. Very closer than you think. It is coming. So there's no denying that ZANU PF killed independence. They have become the new Wapambe Fumi, working in cahoots with their Chinese puppet masters who are pillaging our natural resources with impunity. In all this, helpless villagers are being forcibly displaced from their ancestral lands with little to no compensation at all. To make matters worse, these communities and the nation at large are not benefiting anything meaningful from these minerals: gold, platinum, diamonds, lithium, being mined in their areas. If they're extremely lucky, the local youth are offered manual work for peanuts and 1 or 2 classroom blocks built. Yet those in power are looting these minerals by the plain Lord. All the dreams and hopes of 1980 have been systematically destroyed by corrupt, greedy, ruling elite. We are just as oppressed and marginalized as during the colonial era, if not worse today. I think we are worse. Yesterday, I wondered to myself, will Zimbabweans one day sing again Maruza Emima Fambe Fomi and sing, we meaning ZANU PF, when we finally attain true freedom? Is a day coming when we're going to start to look at ZANU PF and say, it's gone for you, it's over. But I want to tell you, brothers and sisters, the time is very close. It is near. Keep holding on. We are very closer than you think. They don't see it coming, but it's coming. It's coming. It's definitely coming. It's very sad. You also heard Mr. Mchangwa recently talking about how they are going to be in control of food aid. You've heard in this article that there are kids who are dying of malnutrition. This kind of things breaks my heart and tear me into pieces. I'm only sitting here where I'm sitting because of this kind of issues, nothing else. There's no reason. I'm sitting here because of orphans who don't have food, because of children and parents who go to bed with empty stomachs, because I've seen how people suffer. Listen, we grew up, I mean, I can remember when I was too young, we used to see our people suffering. They're worse now if you travel in Zimbabwe, going to the rural areas. Our people are worse than the way when we were young. That will show you something is wrong. And I'm a firm believer that any generation that does not improve from a previous one is a failure. Which means if your father failed, you cannot repeat it. You have to be better. Because you've seen all the mistakes, and you can learn to those that are surrounding you. So it's a season where we have to unlearn what we've learned that is wrong, and we can relearn. In the words of my friends who always say, it's time to unlearn what we had, and it's time for us to relearn. Right? It's for us to relearn. Living a life that is normal, not abnormal life. It is sad, but they're still telling you, one thing that hurts me the most, which I find it, and I really feel for men. I know us women, we can maneuver one way or the other, and because we've always been like finding ourselves, humble as far as dealing with men is concerned. But I'm very worried about men, because I know that men have got the ego. If that ego is suppressed, we can see our society how weak it is today because of all these evil people who are controlling, manipulating, greedy, using force, using their thugs to kill, to hurt. It's sad to watch. But let me just tell you, their day is coming. That day, I'm watching on the streets. I can tell you the truth. The day is coming. That lid is going to come off here. Unfortunately, I've never seen a person who saw evil and get away with it. No. You want to get away with it. Your time is coming where you have to pay for all your wickedness. 44 years that we call independence, but our people are suffering. Not because we don't have, but they've decided to give their bodies. Their bodies has to come and collect. But kids can go to bed with hunger. They don't feel anything about it. In fact, they love it. They love to see our people suffer. It is sad. If they can tell you that every aid that comes in, you saw them about a week or so, said we need about $2 billion so we can feed our people. But at the same time, they tell you that no, we need to control that ourselves. The level of abuse is beyond words. They're disrespectful, they're arrogant, they're filthy, they're disgusting, they're evil, they're wicked, satanic, diabolical. Any word that you can never name, any evil word you want to call, this is how these people are. They care less about other people. It's all about them. Because if the president come through and said we need money, $2 billion, and Mutombo has the nerve to say, no, we're going to be controlling that. Excuse me? Your time is coming. It's very closer than you think it's coming. I don't know how you think this is going to end, but honestly, it will not end well. We all can see that it will not end well. It will not end well. Now, many people can ask questions, but how are we going to be out of this situation? There are so many ways to kill a cat. I was listening to a dialogue that actually happened like a few days ago at Harvard University. And the lady that was sharing that a dialogue was Tsitsi. She's a Zimbabwean girl. And she's sitting with one of the a motivational speaker that I truly love and respect so much, that is Vusite Mbekwayo. Remember, Vusite Mbekwayo was invited to Zimbabwe to speak about finance. I was sitting on the other side of I said, you don't even have banks that are functioning properly. People keep money at home. You can't even talk about bringing a motivational speaker like Vusite Mbekwayo. You're crazy in your head. Fix the country first before you get embarrassed, before you embarrass yourself. Now, here's the thing. While Vusite Mbekwayo was speaking, when he heard the Zimbabwe, just said, oh, hold on. But he said very powerful, strong statements there that I want us to take a listen to the dialogue. Very, very important. But he also said the problem that we have, us, the young people, is we don't know how to liberate ourselves from those that liberated us during the apartheid eras. We don't know how. You know why? Because we are foolish, in my opinion. And when I say fringe, I don't mean some of you, Yao and me. But I'm talking about those that are being used, the likes of Sengezo Shavangu. Those are the people that are the most foolish people in our society. They don't deserve any respect from any sane person. They don't deserve it. You know, any man, especially men, because I'm still a firm believer that men should lead, protect, you know. But if you can be used by another man to do their dirty work, but their kids are almost like they're everywhere, you need to go back and really sit down and say, are you still a man or you're joking? Are you thinking properly or you are crazy? Are you crazy? Because we need to know how we can liberate ourselves. You heard me sometimes say you need to take up the arms, right? No, we won't take up the arms. There are so many ways to kill a cat. So many ways to kill a cat. Each and every generation is different. They may fought with the arms. We won't follow the arms. We're going to use our brains. Yes, they do function properly and well. We understand very well the tactics. Our brains are very much at work. They're working, sir. They're working. We're not going to take the arms. Let's listen to Vosite Mekwayo. Quite very interesting conversation. And at the same time, I felt very bad actually for TC, but at the end of the day, I mean, we have to find solutions to move forward. Let's take a listen.
I don't agree that Africa has a dearth in leadership. I really don't believe that's true at all. I think that there are a sufficient number of very capable young people in the continent. So there is a quantum problem. That notwithstanding, I do think though that my estimation would be that the biggest challenges young Africans face today is we don't have the courage to liberate ourselves from our liberators. So no matter where in the continent you go, typically you'll find that the people seized with the responsibility of leading those people have liberated either those people, which is in my country, or those people's forefathers, if you're in Ghana, say. But what the young people lack today is simply the courage to liberate themselves from those very liberators who gifted us the promise of this free continent that we face today. So if we don't do that, then it'll always present itself as Africa has a leadership crisis. I want to be very clear. Africa, in my opinion, does not have a talent crisis. We don't have a competent people crisis. We don't have an intellectual ability crisis. We don't have any of these as crises. The only crises we have, frankly, is that young people don't understand that power is contestation, and that we're just not ready in numbers to fight for the contestation of our futures. And ultimately, I was speaking at a conference the other day in Nigeria, and I said, I think our generation is the one that's got to make the decision about to what are we going to be loyal? The past from which we come or the future that we want.
Right.
Because we're at the point where we can't be loyal to both.
Right. And how does fighting for what we want look like to you?
Well, I think that's precisely the point. Often people hear the word fighting, and that gets particularly those in power, it gets them nervous, as it should do, right? I think the very idea of fighting is the recognition that it's not going to be given willingly. And we can't ask for it. So there's no asking for it. We can't ask for it. That does mean we need to find creative, necessary, but belligerent means to seize power. I just want to be clear. It has to be belligerent. I'll give you guys an example. I work in capital markets. I've been running around the world for 15 years, talking to global investors about talking to Africa, long before Time magazine was talking about Africa rising as a thing. Some of us were talking about the actual rise of the continent. The biggest challenge we had wasn't the global community. The biggest challenge we had were the local authorities in different countries who recognized that if Africa did rise, the youth who would rise with that and the dividend that would result from that would often shake the very levers of power they sit on. Most of us in this room come from countries where in the election season, because suddenly the people running for power are showing up with food parcels and t-shirts. And so what I mean by this contestation is that young people have to contest the right to determine for themselves the worth of their own lives. And no matter where we are, that's what we have to figure out how to do. I think the contestation is going to be different in different parts of the world. You're seeing it happen in the Sahel region of the continent now. You may have feelings or views about that. Some people even have feelings or views about what's behind that. But what is pretty clear is that you have a generation of young people who are saying, it's pretty clear the past template of the past 50, 60 years hasn't worked. And so we need to rethink what the template of the next 50 to 60 years looks like, and what role are we each going to play with regards to it. It's a contestation. It's going to be difficult. And what I think we need to figure out is by different country, by different regions, given different nuances, what are the various things we each need to do?
Maybe to push back a little, what then do we take of the failure of probably our governments to provide basic services, right? In places where those probably once existed. I'm from Zimbabwe, so.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, how people react.
Oh, dear.
How then do we sort of define leadership in those contexts? Leadership might not look the same, especially we have Asian countries. They have proved that you can have a different non-Western leadership and still have probably the economy that works perfectly, or maybe not as perfectly, but a growing economy. The Asian tigers, China now rising and probably going to be the next big economy. So those are examples of how they adapted to their own environments, taking into context their own cultures and their rich history, but still deliver something to their people. And I think for most African youths, the problem becomes we actually take a Pan-African approach. Mm-hmm. We understand all the evils the West has done. We push back against their idea of democracy, but we still feel that our leaders have let us down. Mm-hmm. So how do we sort of reconcile that?
I want to venture a thought on this, and please excuse me if I'm stepping outside of the guardrails that you've set for this conversation, but I suspect that a part of the problem is that we don't have a uniform understanding of what it is we mean by leadership.
Right.
And as a consequence of this, we assign managers leadership roles. They're not leaders, they're managers. There are many presidents in Africa who are managers, they're not leaders. They can't imagine a future. They can't inspire a people. They don't have the courage to take the necessary action to make those things real. This is true for much of the continent. So one of the things I think we have to do in the conversation is to recognize that we are perhaps the first generation that actually has a real chance and probability of leaders that can effect change in the continent from outside of it, and who are not in political office. This is the first time, I can't imagine in how long, where that is actually plausibly true. You see it too when a number of these managers who are in leadership positions face a contestation from outside of the echo chamber where they have seized power. You notice how they respond. There are examples aplenty, we don't need to mention them, about how it is they react when they find that there is an affront to the institution of power that they have seized. I spent a lot of time in your homeland of Zimbabwe, so I must be careful how I frame this next statement. But I will say to you that in my mind, the conversation is not a tenure conversation. It's not a talent or competency conversation. It's a simply defining, when we say we have a leader in place, what is it that we mean? Because leadership is clearly not an office.
Right.
It's not a job. It's not a business card, and it's not a title.
Facts.
So when we say there is a leader in place, what precisely is it that we mean? I'll give you a quick example, and you mentioned it, the Apostle, the other day over lunch. I often get on my social media people saying, you should XYZ. And the XYZ is typically run for office. Now, I must be careful how I frame this, but I'm not being called to get into a position of power because they think I would be a good leader. It's because they're noticing a leadership behavior and they believe it should seize a position of power. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So when we talk about leadership in the context of Africa, the first test for us is just to agree, what do we mean by a leader? And then the second test is to say, and what do these leaders, what should they deliver to their people? What should they truly deliver to their people? Is it give me liberty or give me death? Or is it simply a better chance at tomorrow? Because it's entirely probable that you can have a better chance at tomorrow without liberty. Read Dambisa Moyo's book, The End of the West, for instance. It makes this point very, very clear that the ascension of what you've seen from the East, the ascension of China, has been antithetical to the America's idea of give me liberty and give me death, or give me death. That it is entirely possible that I can live a life that I want to live, to your point about what's happening in the UAE, and this instrument of liberty that we believe to be foundational in the West is actually not a part of the conversation. So when we say leadership, what is it that we mean? And until that question is answered, see, I suspect we're going to spend a century running around the same merry-go-round. And every single generation will find itself a group of managers who have the instruments to seize power and use that power to authorize themselves leaders. And the young, competent, capable people will board that flight with a return ticket and no intention to use it. And they will go to another part of the world where they believe they will have the better chance at life, precisely because we have given the wrong people the opportunity to lead us, right? And one last point. It's precisely why I say it's going to be a contestation, because it's pretty clear I'm framing questions, not giving answers, which means to each of us, there must be a way to find those answers. And answers can only be found in contestations. We have to argue, engage, agree, disagree. We have to find different models of how things work. In my country of South Africa, for instance, we have a strong, very strong tribal leadership community. Very strong tribal leadership community. And so the question you now ask yourself is, so who is seized with leading a particular community? Is it the state that has the state functionaries to exercise power and authority? Or is it this tribal chief, king, who is given God-endowed rights, it is their belief, to exercise leadership over a people? Who truly is the center of who leads these people?
Quite an interesting conversation there. But again, what I love the most is we need to actually define what leadership is. Leadership is far beyond just having a title. It's bigger than that. As a matter of fact, there's so many people who are leading today in Zimbabwe that people don't even know by name. And they are very good leaders. That's where the problem is. So many of them. Leadership is big. You're leading people going somewhere. Let's ask a question. Where is ZANU-PF going? Where are they going right now? Where they want us to follow? These ones are worse. They aren't managers because they can't even manage the leaders that they have. They are giving outsiders where their kids are hungry. What a foolish people. That's being foolish. And they aren't even leaders as well. They don't have no capacity whatsoever to lead. Because if they had the capacity, even when they are weak, they'll outsource strength within the parameters of Zimbabwe. But no, we have an incredible, great minds, Zimbabweans, men and women, who are shining all over the country, but they would rather check them out so they can keep mediocrity around them because they're afraid of competition. They do not have no qualities of either managers or being leaders. They are simply like gangsters. That's how they operate. It must be said, it must be known, because our children and generations to come need to know this kind of gangsterism must never be tolerated in our society, and it must never be exported. Neither can it be inherited. That conversation has to be said. The problem that we have in Zimbabwe is we are too quiet. When I say we are too quiet, I'm not saying we should fight. We need to begin to have serious conversations. This is why I love what Zikamebe is saying, that we are communicating with people in civil societies. We need to start having conversations, genuine, authentic conversations. Unfortunately, there's dirty money that is circulating, trying to block conversations, but it's not helping. We are just toiling at the same place over and over, like stupid. You can see, everyone can see, even if they can come today to Zimbabwe, leave me out. Maybe one or the other and push for a dialogue. But let me tell you, until we have changed, nothing will work. Because the problem is not everyone outside there. It's not SADC. It's not AU. No, we are the problem. The fact that we can allow outsiders to come and loot stuff for the kids when you don't have medication in your hospitals, Today I was looking at China, very interesting pictures I saw. Kids have to sleep. Their chairs will allow them to sleep. You know, when they want to nap, take a nap, yes. Their chairs at school will allow them to nap. And then when it's time for them to start school again. What type of desks do we have in Zimbabwe? But they're coming collecting everything. They're taking. Going back, bettering their countries. Are we supposed to blame them? We are the problem. Until that conversation is respected, nothing will work. We're always going to be a people who don't know how to stand for something that is good. Respect for Ngosana Moyo. I get, it flabbergasts me. Especially when I talk about Christians, to see Christians supporting the evil that most of ZANU PF guys are doing. They support Christians who claim to be knowing the truth. They support it. They even wiggle themselves to be part and parcel of those, groups. You know why? Because they don't even know the capacity they have. They don't have an understanding of what they're believing in. But they just want to belong for the sake of belonging. But let me tell you, it's not working. This behavior is not going to work, and it's actually not even working at all. It's not going to work. It's sad to hear my sister Tsitsi at Harvard University. She's thinking about home, which means that this issue of Zimbabwe is bothering everybody. It's worse us women. You know why? Because us women, women by nature, we struggle. We struggle to understand, especially when we can see the problem. You know, when we spot a problem and we know their solutions, but then there's no action. We struggle. We struggle with that. For us to come in and talk is because everyone is quiet. I don't have to speak. You know, our culture on its own says nobody, woman talks too much. But we have to speak because nobody's doing anything. And it's not giving us peace, and we have to stand up and say, yo, you know what? Forget the culture. Who cares? You know, we need a solution on the table. It's sad. 44 years. It's heartbreaking. You can actually cry when you think about what Zimbabweans are going through. The streets are quiet. People, they're moving around like psychopaths. Until when? Until when? Until when? Now, they did an interview with Xavier Kasukuwere, asking questions of where we are today. What can we do? What's the way forward? Because let me tell you, the situation in Zimbabwe needs all of us across the board. Everyone. It's not about being a politician. As a matter of fact, as long as you are casting your vote, you're a politician. Because you believe into someone, isn't it? Yes. Even if you don't say much, but you're a politician. So you can't say, I'm not a politician. No, you are a politician. Everybody's a politician. If you're going to the shop and buy and pay tax, you're a politician. Because they're taking your tax money. So where is it going? To the government. Right? So every Zimbabwean is a politician. But let's go through and hear his interview. I don't know why we cannot get it as audio, but we got it like in writing, actually. So yeah, Xavier Kasukuwere said, let's unite and address socio-political challenges. Self-exiled former cabinet minister Xavier Kasukuwere, who was blocked from contesting in last year's general election. This is Newsday reporting. As an independent president candidate, believes that Zimbabwe requires all hands on the deck to resolve the political crisis that has plunged the majority into poverty. That's why I'm afraid. I'm afraid of the coup. I'm not going to lie to you, that the one that we had based on experience. But at the same time, you're like, these people are adamant. When a person does all this coup, to what extent? In exchange of what? That worries me the most. Because we already have a systems of people who want to hold on to something, and which is quite very sad to watch. They don't believe in, respecting someone's views. They just think, because I've taken this thing, I can just, I do as I please. No. That's not the issue. That's not the issue. So in a wide-ranging interview with Newsday reporter Miriam Mankwaya, was Kasukuwere bemoaned lack of political will to unite address the socio-political challenges affecting Zimbabweans. I still don't believe that politics is a problem. I think Politics is simply exposing us, the kind of people that we are. Because politics may come and go. We can wake up tomorrow and say, we don't want to hear about politics anymore. And we are still going to be human, correct? Politics simply exposing who we are. The evil people that we are. Killing your brother, you're a wicked person, you're evil. It has nothing to do with politics. You don't have to kill. Hating and stealing from your neighbor has nothing to do with politics. What happened in Parliament? If we truly had a strong judiciary that could not even see the light of day, then again we will still blame politics. We're simply blaming our people who have now failed to understand the difference between a right and wrong. That, oh, this is wrong, it can't be. I was expecting the whole judiciary to say, no more, otherwise we're leaving the work. This cannot happen, not under our watch. But where are they today? They're not saying anything. And you blame politicians for that? We all have access to do debt work. I can tell you the truth. We can do debt work any day, any time. But why aren't we? Because we are principled. So it's not that we don't have access to do debt work, it's that we are just principled people. We are saying no. Or sometimes they don't even approach us because they know that we cannot do certain things. They respect our choices and decisions. So at the end of the day, we all have to introspect. So I said, how can you describe the current political economic situation in the country? They're asking Xavier Kasukuwere, and his was his response. I think it's always been self-evident, but the chickens will come home to roast one day. I agree with that. Because I'm a principled person, I'm a firm believer, you sow evil, you reap evil, you can't escape. If you die before you reap, your children who pay for it. Unfortunately. I may be paying for the sins of my daddy today. It's very possible. Every time I'm really meeting a hard one, I'm always saying, what did my daddy do? What did he do that I'm paying for? And you know what I always say to God? Okay, it's fine. I can pay for it. If what he did was wrong, I'll pay for it. I accept and take responsibility of his actions. Majority of people don't realize that this is going to come back and haunt them heavily. And I'm in a business. I'm not joking here. Wait and see what's going to happen in the next 5-10 years. I'm still going to be here and to be talking. I'm telling you facts. And I'll remind you that I told you, look, they're paying. It's their time to pay. It's coming. It's only a matter of time. Power comes and go. Seasons comes and go. But one thing that will never fail is the law of sowing and reaping. While the earth remaineth, seed time and harvest shall never cease. Whatever you sow is exactly what you reap. It's a principle. And no one, absolutely no one, neither money in your bank account can stop that. It's a heavy principle. So I think the situation that our country is in cannot last forever. Agreed. There is a need really for us to have a country that belongs to all. A country where everybody has equal rights as well as opportunities. But more importantly, I think as citizens, we must now introspect over some of the things that are happening right in our faces. I agree with that. I think a lot more citizens, be it in the political world, be it in the economic sector, you know, it's really, really pushing the people to the wall. More so in a year where the nation must be united against a big drought that will ravage the whole country. I'm deeply concerned about the situation of the drought, whether the government and private organizations make efforts to alleviate the impacts. But you know that food security will always remain a challenge. And we need to start thinking about how to overcome these challenges around food security and poverty levels in our country. And ultimately, also ensure that we have decent politics, also intelligent and decent politicians. What do you call decent politics? So when I say decent politics, I mean, look at South Africa. Even the fact that Zuma can go to court, get a decision, that might not well received by individuals or organizations, but it's still the capability of the institutions is something to marvel at, you know. You don't have to spill blood to achieve your political objectives. You don't have to break the law to achieve your political objectives. Completely agree. But that's why there's always those allegations that there was blood that was spilled in his area. I can't comment that because I don't really know, but I've heard it many times, people accusing him. I hope maybe he has repented. I'm sure Mr. Xavier Kasukuwere repented. You know, the blood does not work. Killing your brother for money, it's stupid. That man will taint your case in your stomach. It will hurt your children. Even your wife. Your children will suffer because of the sins of their fathers. So earlier you spoke about unity as a necessity in addressing the challenges that the country is facing. May you elaborate on that? So they're asking Kasukuwere, this was his response. Yeah, really the drought situation will affect a lot of people. Already there's a pain across the country. You know that our poverty level is all going to rise. The situation of the majority of people in rural areas, urban families, they can't afford basics because the funds are just not there. They don't have enough funds to move around. The depression in the economy now, it is being greatly affected by this climate change induced drought and is going to hit hard on society. Notwithstanding the fact that the state might not even have sufficient resources to meet the drought requirements, it has raised an appeal over 2 billion. You heard the President Emmerson Mnangagwa thereabouts, but it shows that there is a huge task ahead, and that task needs a unity of purpose to confront it, and that will affect each and every family which is already affected by rising poverty levels in our country, as well as limited disposable incomes. These are factors that require leadership coming together to resolve and assist our country through this difficult period. And he said, who should unite? The question to Mr. Kasukuwere, and respond that when I say the aspect of unity of the people, I'm talking about the belief that each and every one of us has a duty to play. I think what is in our country right now is politics of polarization, politics of ethnicity, politics of division, and so forth. And these do not build that unity, saying all of us, let's march in the same direction and give each and every one of us, and let's call on them for the country. There's one thing that I do not understand whenever I hear people talk about politics of polarization. You know, we are failing to speak truth to power. And let me explain what do I mean by that. We simply need to wake up in the morning and point people who are wrong in the country. ZANU-PF is wrong in their doings. Because what happens within the opposition spaces is because of ZANU-PF. So really thinking that it's because Zimbabweans are polarized is not correct. ZANU-PF is buying people to hate their own brother. That's not polarization. That is evil. Call things as they are. If I'm sitting here, let me give an example, a very simple analogy that happens in a family setup, because a country is made up of families. And some of you, you know, you're going through the same thing that I'm going to say now. There are people in families that are known for causing division. They are gossipers, they are ungrateful, they are liars, and they are entitled. These 4 characteristics, liars, entitled, gossipers, and also those people are known in families. And what they do, they machinate or they manipulate people in families. If they go around to someone's house, they'll say things that never happened, and then it causes stir. People start fighting, and they just create because they love to see people divide. Then you can't say the family is divided. What you need to do is to deal with the poison in the space. That when that person gets in your house and begin to talk about the other person, you tell them to shut up. And say you do not allow gossip in your home. You have won the war. It's that simple. If right now ZANU-PF, when someone said, okay, we're going to buy you into this, and the person said, sorry, sir, you can't. I don't remember one woman I remember well during the election time. From the rural folks, she was a councillor. And ZANU-PF wanted to give $1,000 in the rural to buy that council position. And she refused. A principled woman. You don't need to be educated to be principled. You don't need to have money in your account to be principled. It goes down to your heart. The kind of person that you are. That you say, no, I can't be bought into doing evil. That's being principled. Entitlement. Some people feel that they're entitled to something. Oh, Tagarwa Honto. Then what? Does that mean that if I'm here right now pushing the agenda of change and try to enlighten people, then tomorrow I'm going to wake up and say, no, I need a contract because the country per forefront. No, I don't want it. You know why? Because I know my destiny. I know my purpose is already orchestrated. My destiny is nothing any politician will do to stop me, because they did not call me to do what I do. God sends me. I know my purpose. Nobody, absolutely nobody, I don't care your name, who could stop me to fulfill my purpose, because you did not call me. God sends me. I'm on a mission here. I have so much understanding of how the world works. Only foolish people, gullible, ignorant people who believe that getting money from a politician will give you success. It's a curse. Only the wicked people will think that. You're cursed. So there's nobody, absolutely nobody. Any politician will stop me from fulfilling purpose. They can do whatever they want to do, but it will not stop me. It won't stop me. As a matter of fact, I pray for them because I can see them falling heavily. I can see what's coming for them, and I feel for them. I really do. I really do. I wish their eyes can be opened because they don't see what's coming. They'll be shocked. They will be shocked. We can't keep on talking about polarization. There's no polarization in Zimbabwe. They're just wicked people who are accepting dirty money, number one. They're wicked people who are using dirty money to destroy. Don't try to point people. We are not a polarized people. You are sowing a seed of division and sowing a seed of mistrust so that people can't even trust each other. It doesn't mean that we are a polarized country. No. As a matter of fact, I'll tell you my experience. I'll tell you one day. Because I talk things that I've experienced, okay? I don't talk about things that I don't know, right? Zimbabweans are very united. You are sowing seeds of evil and you want to pretend like we are not those kind of people. Keep your dirty money and see if that country can stand up. That country will rise. Wait and see. The Zimbabwe I know is the Zimbabwe where we share. We care for each other. That's who we are. You have been working tirelessly to divide us so that at least you can be able to hold on to power. Your time is coming. That power eventually going to go. Who's going to live forever? Nobody. You will kiss the dust very soon. You need to fear God. And stop lying to people. We are not divided. We are not. I don't buy that. I still don't buy that Zimbabweans are divided. No. And then the next question was, you were barred from participating in the 2023 election. Does it mean you are waiting for 2028 for you to re-emerge on the political battlefield? And he said politics is an everyday reality. I think the concerns some of us have not changed. The hopes we have for our country have not diminished. The ambitions have not evaporated. We still believe this great nation of ours at the right time is to emerge out of the pain that we are going through. And part of this pain is really out of desperation by empty or by bankruptcy in terms of thinking and leadership. When you are bankrupt in leadership, you don't focus on building the country. But let's be frank, I think we have been in this mess for quite some time. We have been on this journey for quite some time. We need to find the break and rebuild our great country. Sanctions, the devastation that has been brought on the economy and also the lack of political tolerance in our country have brought a huge premium on the economic landscape. And this premium is even affecting the emergence of a national currency. The efforts by the central bank will yield not much tangible benefits as long as the polarization, the divisions, if it remains like that, then nothing will ever be possible. Again, I repeat, there's no polarization in the country. It's said that ZANU-PF think they're the only people who can have leadership, and they don't even have the leadership, unfortunately. Because if they were leaders, we wouldn't be in this mess that we are in the country. We wouldn't even cry to have SADC come in and help us to find peace. A leader knows how to sit down around the table and have a conversation. You know, what makes one family succeed and the other fails is simply leadership. Because a successful leader, a man who understands leadership qualities, he knows that it's not abusing people that makes you a leader. It's sitting around the table and ask your wife what she thinks about the family. Ask your children what they think about your leadership. My children, for the past month or year, what do you think about my leadership? That's leadership. I can sit down with my father, he asks me a question. What do you think about it? I'll tell him, no, Dad, here. No, this is not it. That's being a leader. But if you think nobody must say anything, I must just do what? No. You're not a leader. You're simply an abuser. That's why that home will never work. But when you understand communication, and we can correct where things are wrong, We can fix what needs to be fixed. Where you understand that each and every person's view matters. There's some people that are actually going to tell you what to make everything be at peace. That's leadership. It shows with how broken our families are, our societies are, that something is lacking is understanding. Education was great. That people are saying, no, we're an educated community, great. But you know what? Education without wisdom, it will tend to a curse. You need wisdom. There's no leadership in the country. And the leadership is desperately needed. Leadership is follow me. This is the way I'm taking, follow me. Now, here's the deal. Maybe, can I be the devil's advocate? The leadership that is there is wrong. Because it has turned even the young people to be monsters. Because if someone can drive a car, get me this right, pick up his brother, go beat his own brother, inject poison in his brother's skin, that will show you that something is amiss. That's an abnormal. No normal person in their senses can do something like that. And because we don't have conversations, right, and call things as they are, that is abnormal. If someone can go on social media and tell you, go take the car, I bought the car for my children, I bought so and so cars, when there are people hungry in the streets, something's wrong in our society. It doesn't have to be political. It shows you something is just wrong with the way we think. It's how we think. And when rich people, when they see this is sad to watch. This is really sad. You know the book, A Monk Who Sold a Ferrari? I'm sorry to say this. There was a time I wanted to go and be a monk. For real. Yes. Because I've seen how materialistic people have become. Sad. It is really sad to watch. But in the end, all is vanity. All is vanity. So you are talking of political polarization. Another question. Are there any steps that you have taken on yourself to ensure that there is unity or there is dialogue or to resolve the challenges that we are facing as a nation? Mr. Kasukuwere, are there any steps that you're taking? This is his response. Who to dialogue with? When someone says it's mine, I don't allow it. Dialogue is when someone says, guys, in the interest of our country, let's push the same agenda. But if there is no desire whatsoever, there's the winner-take-all approach. This is the tragic nature of our politics. There's no room for people to come together. There has to be leadership provided to say, we are all citizens and children of our nation. And as much as we may know that there are differences, when we are confronted with the questions of survival of our nation, we unite and build a country. This nation requires building. Someone who understands that yesterday I might not have said good to you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that tomorrow we carry on with the grudges, all the way to a point where we leave our country vulnerable. I think there's a point that is trying to say here, is trying to talk about grudges. I don't think Zimbabweans have a problem with the grudges. Zimbabweans have a problem with trust. There's a difference, right? Is the experience they're afraid for it to be repeated. Because if people were abused, it takes a certain kind of heart. I can only imagine to see someone being hurt in front of me. I can only imagine how that feels. And people can be hurt, be beaten up in front of you. You can see it. People can be killed. Their heads can be cut in front of your face. And you think that can be a grudge. That's not a grudge. That's an issue of trust. Zimbabweans can forgive. Our parents did it with Smith. They did it. They forgave you. But you know what they did? With all the forgiveness, they will hate again. I feel for the generation of our parents because that generation has suffered. Suffered with Smith, suffered with ZANU-PF. It's sad to watch. That's why I can't even begin to fathom if I have to leave my child in a country like this. I can't. I don't mind me I cannot even begin to fathom leaving my children in such a nation. That's why I will do anything in my power to make sure that this cannot be inherited by our children. This can't be. I want a nation where our kids can sit around the table, understand that we can talk, we can converse, we can love, we can share, we can build. We don't have to fight because each and every one of us is unique. Our purposes are unique. Imagine you thriving in your area of gifting. I don't have to fight you because I don't care about that. I don't want to be there. That's why I always say I'm not a politician. So I love it when politicians are there and do their thing. They can do it. But know what I do? I'm a teacher. I love to teach. I love to speak. I love to motivate. I love to change lives. And I'm going to be doing what I'm called to do. But if a politician does wrong, I'm going to call you out. I will call you out. If a teacher abuses a student, I'm going to call them out. But if a student abuses the teacher, I'll call the child out. I don't have to be fighting with any I don't care about politics. If you're a lawyer, I love you. If I've got my problems, I'll come to you to help me and appreciate you. If you're a judge, I respect you. Right? I don't want to be a judge. I want to be an attorney. So why would I be a jealous of an attorney? I don't understand. I don't understand what are we fighting for? Because all of us, we are unique in our ways. All right? We don't have to argue. We don't have to fight. There is no reason whatsoever. I don't even need a title. For those who don't know, I'm a preacher. I can preach, but I don't need a title. I don't need to be an evangelist or a pastor to preach. I don't need that. I can preach around the table in our house. That's changing lives. I don't need to be in front of millions of people to talk. As a matter of fact, some people are in front of millions, but they can't even help their families. They're collapsing. Their children are failing. That's failure. Leadership starts where you are. Your circle of influence. How are you influencing lives? That's leadership. That's fulfilling purpose. I don't need a title to do so. No, I don't. I don't even want a title. Let me and my name. Rumbi, I love it. Makono, my surname. If I get married, I give my daddy's surname back. I pull whoever it is and I put it on me. Life goes on. You call me Rumbi, I keep moving. I don't need a title, but let me tell you, I'm going to change lives. Because I have understanding and wisdom. We don't need to fight. There's no reason. We don't need to collect. There's no reason. In fact, I think some people are not even living. Imagine every morning you're thinking who you're going to cook, where to take, which mineral to take, which every day of your life, who did what? Go and kill that person. Go and hate that one. I told you, social media. Go back. You are not living. Because you're spending all your time focusing on other people. Well, yes, you need to be counting your blessings one by one. Oh, God, I thank you for the family. I think that I'm alive. I think that I'm smiling. I think that I can actually eat. I think that I'm healthy. Right? That's understanding. What they're collecting every day. Your children. No. Hold on. Leave. Stop that. It's not necessary. Just leave. As we're beginning this interview, you said all the challenges that Zimbabwe is facing will not stay forever. Okay. What are those indications? What makes you think that it will end? We must believe that better days shall come to our country, but we have to build towards the direction. I agree. We're not only going to believe that better days are coming, but we must take steps towards better days. And I also think, very importantly, we must begin to prepare. When I say preparation is we prepare in our actions. Because, we are like a person who wants to be married. Who's busy preparing for a wedding day. They don't have a clue of how the family runs. They're just all jumping up about my dress, or my ring, or my shoes, or my family. No. That is not marriage. Did you prepare for the marriage? For the day-to-day challenges that comes. When you wake up and there's no job. When you wake up, someone is sick. Right? When you wake up, someone is just doesn't want to talk. And you're like, oh, hold on. You know what I'm saying? Are you prepared? But you're jumping up and down. Oh, it's my wedding dress. Oh, it's my... Relax. So we can all just jump right now and we want change. But are we prepared? Maybe that's the reason why there's delay. Because God will say, until they're ready, I'm not going to allow this. Because I'm telling you guys, if you can see what happened last year, honestly, that's when I realized that no, Zimbabwe is broken. What people are doing right now, turning against their brother, Nelson Chamisa, for doing absolutely nothing. People are blaming him. But they can't point out where the wrong is. They know where the wrong is. They rather blame a person who is innocent. That shows us that there's something wrong with us as a people. We can't say, that person is wrong. Shabangu should... Under normal circumstances, that man could not even walk on the street. But we see him all over the place. But we can actually be angry with our brother. Listen, I'm not saying because I support Chamisa, I'm talking facts. Whether I support him or I don't, he didn't do anything wrong. What did he do wrong? Nothing. But people can attack him for doing absolutely nothing. He may not be perfect like all of us. He may have his weaknesses. But know what we do? Under normal circumstances, we cover up the weaknesses. We don't expose. We tell him you can do well. Keep holding on. You're doing well at the age of 46. You have done well for yourself. We believe in you that you can be better. But you know what? Because we think we deserve that position, we might as well destroy everything because we just think we belong, where we know we don't belong. Isn't it okay to appreciate when people can be appreciated? And to rebuke where they can be rebuked? No, but you're wrong. No, but you're right. You're doing well. Nelson, I don't have his number. If I had his number, I'll call him. But I don't. But Mr. Chamisa, if you happen to hear this message, because I know it will circulate by all means, you're doing well, sir. You're doing extremely well, sir. Let me tell you, being a single person, I wish to get a man like you. That's my prayer. And it doesn't have to be a president, but he must be a man who is focused. A man who's a visionary. He may not be perfect with all his weaknesses, but I can see. And I help him to build his stamina so he can fulfill purpose. In the end of the days, I want him to turn back when he gets to heaven and God said, well done, you faithful servant. Because I gave him the help that God had assigned me to do. That's what I'm talking about. I will pray to God. I wish to get a man like you. You are at peace in the midst of the storm. We're not looking for all noise that we are hearing on the street. We are sick and tired. As women, we are sick and tired. We want peace. We are where we are today because of men who are just playing around with our destinies. We are sick and tired. So, Mr. Chamisa, you're doing well. Keep pushing. And let me tell you, if God says you're going to be the president of Zimbabwe, nothing, and I said absolutely nothing, anyone will do to stop you. At the right time, it will happen. What you must do, prepare. Because if it was my son, if Chamisa was my son, I'll believe for my son. I'll believe for my brother. Right? How come all of a sudden we think like it's wrong for someone to desire to be something, but we want our children to be in those positions? We're selfish people. It must be me. Really? Why not someone's child? Why not your neighbor? So it's a problem that we have in Zimbabwe. It's a moral problem that it can be missing. It's only that politics is exposing everything and our weaknesses. All right. I told you it's like a married couple that they can fight. And it's not they fight the problem. It's their characteristics the problem. Not that they can fight, no. The character is the problem. But unfortunately, that marriage exposed. That's why they always said that, my mom used to say but marriage is an eye-opener. That's what you were saying. Yeah, it says, they say that, no, my mom used to say, they say love is blind, but no, marriage is an eye-opener. That's what my mom says. But marriage is an eye-opener. Oh, God. Okay, so how should people build towards the direction? The direction that we need to do. They're asking, Kasukuwere here. Said, this discussion we're having, I'm sure these are kind of discussions, deeper discussions that must precede the development of our country. Deeper introspection in what is happening, what's going wrong, and what we must avoid in the future. The key elements of the country revolves around a strong democratic system that works for everybody, a strong set of institutions that protect the rights of our people, an economy that is inclusive, that delivers on behalf of everybody, opportunity and dismantling of a colonial system that continues to class or put people in segments, say the rural people, the townspeople. It is in fact Zimbabweans across the breadth who must be stopped irrespective of their political opinions. In other words, it is an all-encompassing political economic system that looks at placing the people of Zimbabwe at the center of our development, and one that negates the continued perpetuation of predictive politics. One thing that I know about God is that God works in mysterious ways, okay? When he sees that you don't really get to understand something, he's going to force you to do it right. And I'm going to tell you why I say so. You know, over the years, we've seen Zimbabweans crying or clamoring to have lands in towns, right? In Harare, in Masvingo, in Bulawayo, and whatever. But to my surprise, people begin to build very nice houses in rural areas. You know why? That could have been done 40 years ago. But because things were not doing right, and God, in his own mighty and his wisdom, forced the Zimbabweans to do the right thing. And so that they can realize that no, there is no difference between those in the rural and those that are in town. That almost every land should be developed. All these barricades of saying you're in town, it's nonsense. I'm a person of peace. I love peace. I love nature. I don't mind to build my house in the rural and have my peace and changing lives. I don't care to be next to all the noise and the dirty that I see in Harare. Pampas all over the place. I can't. We have no understanding. For those with money, go buy land in the rural area. Let me tell you why I say so. Because very soon, there'll be malls there. Soon, ZANU-PF, hear me out. You have failed. But the Zimbabwe that is coming, we will build real malls in those areas. When our children will see Louis Vuitton in Masvingo. You know, DG, that you are busy, you think that you have arrived when you wear your Louis Vuitton and Chanel and think that we must jump for you in the street. We will own those malls. We shall own them. And we will bring Louis Vuitton there. I'm talking of original LV there. And our people will afford to buy it. Well, that poverty mentality of yours. That when you wore the Chanel bag, want us to stand for you. Excuse me, not us. We won't do that. It's coming in the rural. Build malls. Our people, the rich people, the blessed community that we have. Our people have got money. They're waiting for you to go so they can come and invest back in the country. You are the problem. And you need to stop. If you think we're going to be like you, we won't be. We won't be. And your supporters here in Zimbabwe, amid the challenges that the citizens are facing, the current economic situation, the drought, what would you tell them at this moment, at their leader? There should not be any word of say supporters, whatever. That thing is gone, man. We want to put all this politics nonsense away. We want to fix the country. Where we look at each other and say, hey, whether you are belonging to Douglas Monzora, Linda Masarira, Valerio, or you love whoever you love, we don't care. What we care about is the development of this nation. So then he responded and said, well, in my mind, I've spoken about the responsibility that all of us have with regards to the building of our country. My thinking at this moment in time is really that the pain that is in our country is huge, quite deep, and more so with this impending drought that we are already in. What must we do, therefore, to assist and uplift these people out of this huge quagmire? I think all of our efforts must really be focused on helping to ease the pain that our society is facing. Already, our economic performance has not been that great, meaning that most families are going to bed on empty stomach. It's a fact. I've heard my mom say that most families, even those who are working, they're earning way below the poverty line. And you see this naturally in the exodus of our people out of the country to neighboring nations and beyond. At this peak of loss of hope that the majority have now in the country, it's not a one-way street. You have to give and also take. So if Zimbabwe has to succeed, and certainly it should, it requires all hands on the deck to get our country out of this quagmire. It's interesting. My mom one day told me that one of the couple from the church sent them a message, and a couple, and say, we have been going to bed for the past 4 days, on empty stomach. I'm talking about a couple, a husband and a wife and children, where you have to just say whatever that is there, I'm going to have to just let my kids eat. Can I tell you something? There is a difference here. There's a difference between being in a season or a phase, and we all have, and most people that in the diaspora have experienced that. You get into a space where you are new and you don't really know much, and you have to go through your own season of understanding, get to apply for jobs, maybe get to take those like very, very low paying jobs because you are kind of fighting your way. I do remember when I got a job in a restaurant, I worked for a Chinese. I didn't think I worked there for 2 days if I'm not mistaken. I went home and I was literally like, so if I take a cold hot water and start to tap your... they told me, talker, I could not stand. The whole day I was standing, and I went home, I was sick. I said to my uncle, sorry, I'm not going to take this job, man. I'm done. I'm done. I can't do it. I'm done. But God of his mercy, because God loves me. God has got his favor on me, and he gave me a better job. I'm just saying, I was like, no, my uncle, I'm not going to do it. As much as I want money, but this job, I can't go home and be sick, But I'm just saying, people can take anything while they're building themselves moving forward, which makes a lot of sense. But Zimbabwe is different. There's no direction. I don't know if that makes sense. Like, okay, there's no direction. You don't know, okay, I'm starting from where, going where, to do where. There's no direction. I hope they know. I hope ZANU-PF can hear that. Mr. President, Your Excellency, people have lost hope. Because the country, we don't know where it's going. We have lost hope, sir. So Zimbabweans would rather be stuck in foreign lands because they know that when at least I can try something, I can start somewhere, but I'm going somewhere. And wake up and be something and try something different. And it works, it really does work, right? So, Mr. President, we're just telling you as the children, Zimbabweans are hurting. It's that simple. Our people are hurting. But we also know that the God that we serve, that will never fail, he will come through for us. And he will do it, I know him. He will do it. He's able to do exceedingly abundantly above and beyond what we can ever ask or think or imagine. This is why he has already started the good work among ourselves, little by little, giving us wisdom. The Zimbabwe that we want is around the corner. It's coming. And I'm telling you, we're all going to be having a great time. And I'm going to land right here. Yeah. 44 years. May God bless Zimbabwe. May God bless our children. May God bless our husbands. May God bless our men. May God give them wisdom and counsel. We will not fail. This generation will not fail our children. We will not fail. We will do it together. We can. May God bless you all. I love you. Bye for now.